And I tried really hard, tried to push through it. And I just realized eventually, I'm like, I'm not happy. I'm really unhappy. And this isn't the relationship for me. And
this is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
This is where he's like, and he like gave me no problem, didn't say anything, like he did it. So I was like,
he gets to claim the taxes. That's why.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Well, either way, I was like, this is the journey. Although it was I can always teach. I can always do that. I can always fulfill that giving back feeling. But, you know, I performed Divorce Diaries. I wrote the pilot and doing all, you know, we're trying to get it to TV series, doing all these different things with the show. I'm a host on a show called What's Up New York now. That is like everything I was striving for when I was
passion.
in my 20s. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. It's so much fun too.
Yeah.
Like I love, there's parts I love about the entertainment business,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's parts I really don't like about the entertainment business, like Puerto Rican producers. No good. No good.
Really?
Hueva.
Huepa. Yeah. Boricua.
Yeah. See, he chimes in from time to time. We try to mute his
I
mic.
know he was Puerto Rican. All right.
FYI, I'm also from Patterson, so it kind
Oh,
of...
Yeah,
look at Patterson representing.
He does extra work on the side for Adrian Brody, just so you know.
Oh, all right.
So,
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
so you get married, you find the love of your life, and when did things start slowly going downhill?
Honestly, 6
On the
months into
honeymoon?
our marriage. 6 months into our marriage, it started going south because I could feel I was having a crush or feeling like I was having a crush towards a few other men that were coming in and out. And that's normal. But for a long time, I used to suppress who I was because I thought I wasn't supposed to be that way with a boyfriend. And it wasn't so much my ex-husband's fault or anything like that. I think who he was and who I was, they might not have
Maybe the idea of marriage sounded better?
I was going to say that your parents' love at first sight. Do you think that was supposed to be you then?
Yeah. A big thing. And also his insecurities were making me feel like I wasn't doing certain things. Not to put him down, but there was certain things. He was like, you're going to be making out with guys in these movies. And then I got, oh, should I not be doing that? And then eventually he's like, no, I don't care. I just won't watch it. But then it was stuck in my head. So my own stupid OCD was like, I have to shift myself. And I definitely changed who I was. I was a very flirty, sexual person, sensual person with people. I took a lot of my male friends out of my life, which was dumb. I distanced myself from a lot of people. So all those shifts I made to myself, when you say to your girlfriend, oh, I'm never going to change when I have a boyfriend. And I changed. Yeah. And then it resulted in me wanting to burst out of my own skin, having crushes, thinking of having thoughts about another man when I'm with my husband. And I was like, this is not good. And I tried really hard, tried to push through it. And I just realized eventually, I'm like, I'm not happy. I'm really unhappy. And this isn't the relationship for me. And, you know, that did not sit well with him either eventually.
Yeah, I can see how he would have a problem with that.
Yes.
You know, coming from a guy standpoint, I don't think I'd be too happy with that either.
But I think, right, exactly. And then he made choices in his behavior that resulted in like, how he was reacting from emotions. I was trying to saying we have to end this. We're not happy, period. Eventually, what brought us back together on a better speaking term was once we got divorced, we moved with our parents. One of his brothers passed, and it really did bring us all on speaking terms again, in even his family. So it's unfortunate that the death brings you. One death brings you, the death of your marriage breaks you
full
guys
circle
apart.
Sometimes.
Then the death brings you together. I told his mom too when we were getting divorced, I'm like, everything's going to be okay. She was upset. She goes, you guys are splitting up. And she's like, she left my families. They loved being apart. So I said, look, it's going to be okay. What if he ends up with somebody and they're happy? And he is. He's with someone, and I'm pretty sure they're going to get married at some point. And I couldn't be more happier for him because I couldn't give him that. And I felt horrible inside.
But you got this wonderful child out of it.
We have a beautiful child, and that's what the goal was. Sure, I can go to the other.
Stuff went wrong.
Stuff went wrong.
Good. You got this good child out of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's important. Like, people forget that. People become very short-sighted when they the kids don't ask to be born. So people become very short-sighted that they don't like each other. They're starting to hate each other. Mm-hmm. The children are just there watching all this, learning this, absorbing all this.
And where does that put it into the kid's psyche for when the kid gets older?
Right.
You know?
which is
you know,
why
my parents were arguing every day, you know, and
all right.
you know, like I said, your parents were,
Well, they were arguing every day too.
yeah, but
and also threatening divorce, but they loved each other. They would also like make out in the kitchen. It was gross.
But it was love at first sight. So if you and your husband are arguing every day, you're going to instill that in your kid also.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
My daughter doesn't know us together. So she was 20 months when I left the house. When I said I'm going to leave and moving out, I had to write a letter. I have to tell him, you know, because she doesn't want to. If you don't tell, I had my lawyer say you have to tell him that you're leaving. As long as he doesn't say anything where you can't go, you can go. But I will say I feel like I'm in such, it brought me back to my identity. People don't like to hear that. Oh, divorce brought you back to who you are. What did you get married for? Because I did believe in us. I wanted to have a family with him. I don't regret anything. I think what needed to happen.
You can't put a round peg in a square hole. And that's what it sounds like to me. I don't know your ex-husband. I don't know the nature of your relationship.
Both 100%. I think his partner now is definitely, they fit. And it's not that we didn't fit. I think we fit for the time being. And then I feel like the relationship ended and we kept going.
If you don't mind me, how old were you when you got married?
We 27 actually, 27. So it's not super young, but we were together since I was 23.
Young, but times change and attitudes change as you get older.
Oh yeah. Especially in your 20s. People think they have to get, that's where I was I still don't know what I'm doing.
Listen, I'm 57. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow.
So exactly. And I feel like you change, especially in your 20s. I feel like if anything, you're more equipped to get settled down in your mid 30s because you sort of know. But even then, it's all a case by case. Okay.
Well, and that's why I say all the time, marriage should be a 3-year contract.
I've heard this
and have a re-up,
right?
Like a state police,
like a lease.
You got to re-up it every 3 years.
So state police have to re-sign every 5 years.
Yeah, I think it's 5.
They got to re-sign every 5 years, and and there's a big joke like you go to sign the paper and then they pull it out of you. They pull it out from underneath you.
I like that idea only because
you could use that in your show too.
Okay, here's a lease. But I will be honest with you, I still have, because of what my parents, their love and that example, and also the relationship I have with my dad, who was my, the expectation of what men should do for you is like from help from my dad. I haven't had that. And in a relationship with a guy, and I feel like it's harder to find it, especially with people I tend to connect with the men who they like me, we have chemistry, and then it's like, they forget about me when I'm out of their sight. It's kind of like they live on an island. We have a lot of fun on the island. And then when I go away from the island,
take the boat away from the island.
They take the boat away, and I don't even have a life jacket to get back into the shark-infested waters.
In retrospect, is there any vision or any scenario where you could have made it work with your ex-husband?
No.
No. Well,
that was quick and to the point.
I say no.
That's honestly one of the most straightforward answers I could ever get from that, because most of the time when people got divorced, well, they could have done this and I could have done this, and there's some regret and rebuke in there.
Absolutely not. I don't say that to be mean to him. I think we would have still ended up in the same route. There's a musical called If Then, and it's about the woman who's getting divorced, and they take you to 2 different scenarios, and both of the scenarios, the different choices she makes in her life, both things still happen. She gets her career and she gets the child she wanted. So with the man that she was supposed to be with. And in one of the scenarios, she gets divorced, but she married the wrong guy. So she still ends up in the same path. So I still feel like regardless of what could have been shifted, we still would have ended.
But now you're in a world and you're in a life that is so scary, because you put all your time and you invest all this of yourself into this relationship, and the relationship ends. Yeah. And now you're out in no man's land.
I mean, I was like
literally
this.
no man's land.
I wasn't really scared. I was like, da 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 da.
Did you have you had a plan, but now you got to execute your plan.
My plan was scare. First of all, this is why I like to say, no matter how hard it was when I was going through it, I still wanted to get divorced. I still thought the happily ever after still existed. I thought I was going to have to file for bankruptcy. We were doing a short sale of my home. My first lawyer said, you might have to file for bankruptcy. My daughter had not started talking yet. She was almost 2 years old. She had evaluation for, she had to get early intervention services. They thought she might be on the spectrum. She didn't test. She tested non-conclusive. It was hell. And I was moving back home with my parents, my 92-year-old grandmother, and my handicapped dog, who got hit by a car while I was arguing with my ex-husband. So
that is a book right there.
As hard, the divorce.
How many more adjectives you want to add on that?
I can add, right. So, and then
my handicapped dog that got hit by a car.
About it on air. And he did. It was it was a year before that. He got hit by the car while I was arguing with him, and he ran out to the front. He was barking at somebody. He got hit by the car. And I thought to myself, well, if we can't make it work because of the dog, we really can't make it work. And we couldn't. So there were so many things that I said, I still was happier because I had the support of my family. My parents really supported me in my decision and helped me through it. And my daughter, I had to. I knew there was there was a light at the end of the tunnel. I wanted to get back to what I'm doing now and feeling fulfilled. I feel, even though there's ups and downs as an entrepreneur, as an actor, you feel scared all the time about certain things, but then there's also that joy. And anyway.
But the fear is actually, a lot of people are drawn to that fear, that anxiety, because there's a little bit of an adrenaline rush in there.
Those are the guys that like me and date me and then run away.
But isn't self-fulfillment the path to happiness?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I think so. And I also think if you really look at it like we're here for, this is a bigger picture. We're here for a short amount of time. The people you've lost, the things that you can't control what's going to happen tomorrow. God forbid. Oh my God.
Oh, you really are Italian.
I'm very Italian.
With that word, God forbid.
God forbid.
Do you cross your fingers when you say it too?
I said actually a couple of rosaries on the way here that my daughter had a good night in gymnastics.
She walked in and said, "Mannaggia Fanabla."
Yes. And but I also am very spiritual, where I pray and I meditate and I like to ask for signs that my dad's around or that this is going to happen or something's, So if I didn't have that, I wouldn't feel as my faith in what's out there beside just here.
But you're telling a tale that you weren't so much looking for the greener grass. You were actually looking for just a lawn to spread out in.
Yeah.
Because where you were, that doesn't seem like anything was growing.
It was dark and it was isolated. I was alone. I was very sad.
Right.
I remember watching Watch What Happens Live. Jenny McCarthy was on. They were like, how do you stay so looking young and fun? And she was like, great sex and yoga. And I remember going, am I always going to be miserable? I just remember.
And Botox.
And I'm sure, yes. But it's actually Divorce Diaries won Best Screenplay on the film festival that she sponsored. Side note, isn't that weird? And when I watched her on Watch What Happens Live, I had a aha moment. It's one of the aha moments I can put my finger on, thinking, what am I doing?
Well, there's no chance meetings.
Right. It's like, and yeah.
So how did you start to rebuild? Because if you're getting back into acting,
yes,
you didn't go back into acting and say, I'm going head first into the divorce genre.
No, so I just immediately, I never stopped acting. I just was doing it part-time. And no matter where I was as a teacher, I was always finding opportunities for my students to perform on stages with New Jersey theaters or projects. So I had a one-woman show called How to Be a Successful Teacher that went to United Solo Festival in New York City at Theater Row Studios. I always was creating. So I took that one-woman structure, and I had done one-woman shows before in college, and I was starting to create Divorce Diaries. I kept saying Divorce Diaries when I was home with my family, and I was like, this is unreal. And then I started to do the New Work series at Emerging Artist Theater in New York, just popping in, creating. You can sign up to do these New Work series. You have to get accepted in. But because of my background in doing one-woman shows, I would get in. And it would be an opportunity for me to perform. Bless you.
Cut that one out.
Put it in the highlight reels.
So, yeah, I never stopped writing or creating, even when I was married. So that never stopped. But I was pushing the gas pedal more when I got divorced. I started doing, I wanted to go back to doing improv. I had done improv at UCB for a couple of years when I was in my 20s. I wanted to go back to it. I had some friends doing stand-up comedy.
The best improv scene in the world, I think it's TED 2. Yeah. Where they go to the improv theater and Mark Wahlberg and the teddy bear sitting in the back, and he's like, give me an event, 9/11. And he's like, no. They just keep skirting the issue. Well, give me a person, Robin Williams. And then he said, well, give me a person at a place, Robin Williams at 9/11. And they start hammering this poor guy. Yeah, but improv is a tough world because you really got to be quick.
And I loved it. When I was at UCB in that short time, I was like having the time of my life. And I stopped when I started dating my ex-husband. And again, not his fault, but that's when I was like, oh, Michelle. And I couldn't get into an improv class, so I took a stand-up class. I was dating a cop at the time. I broke up with him. And
good move.
He broke up with me, I'm not going to lie. And then I stayed at his house for 2 hours, pretty much begging him to reconsider.
Oh, you were an Alanis Morissette song. That's what you were.
I was. And then I was like, I used sex. I used I love you, everything. I mean, we're still friendly. So we had sex a year ago, actually. So I feel like we rekindled something. Now he has a girlfriend, but that's fine. So he's actually
had a girlfriend for 2 years, but you had sex with him last year.
He actually is in the pilot, his character, and he watched it, and he was very much gung ho for me creating, which was appreciated. So he inspired me to go to stand up because I was trying to heal from the breakup. It was really hurting. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, I'm gonna do a stand up show. I'm gonna show him the material I do. I'm gonna send it to him, and we're gonna get back together. That was the freaking goal, and it worked a little bit. And then we stopped talking again for a little bit. But
so I guess the show wasn't that good.
No, I kind of showed up at his house. That was another story.
With a video. Here's the show I did about you.
He liked the show. It was me demanding more attention. So, but that's okay. It's not something you should do. You should roll up to a Puerto Rican cop who was, raised in the streets and say, "Hey, I need more attention and my sunglasses back."
Well, you have a certain personality to you, and this first time we met face to face, you have a personality where you are you're high energy. You really are high energy.
I was going to say vibrant.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And it does. I will tell you this. Some people, it scares a lot of people. I'm sorry to.
No, I just love that you're being honest because, like, some people are like, it's so great. And I can sometimes see some men are like,
you're like, whoa.
Michelle, you're too intense. I mean, I don't think I can meet your expectations. I'm like, well, get a fucking shoehorn. Sorry. Oh, because sorry, I messed up the joke. One guy said to me, he's like, I can't fill the shoes of your expectations. And I was like, get a shoehorn, figure it out. You're freaking 55.
We just walk into a room, go.
So this is something I do in my set. I said, guys, I'm so high strung, you won't know if you'll have to take a Xanax or a line of Coke to keep up with me. Because I am. And the thing is, I've never done drugs in my life. And I am like, I tried weed in college and I was like, I'm not into it.
But you didn't inhale?
I don't even know what I did. I was drunk and I was like, I don't know what happened. Even now, people are like, you should really smoke. You need to calm down. I'm like, no, I like who I am, even though it's a lot.
Well, we've had people in here that have partaken before the show, and it scares the hell out of me because
recently,
because I like that you're sharp. You're sharp,
right?
Like
you gotta be on point.
You're very sharp, and you being in the creative field like that. Me personally, I think it would dull you.
When I first started doing stand up and Divorce Diaries, I'd always bring like a glass of wine with me on stage. I never drink at work. And I never drank at work before, but when I would do stand up, everyone has a glass of wine. I was like, no, I don't need to drink at my job because I'm not better comic.
It doesn't like calm you down before you go on show, or you're just naturally that high strung.
It throws me off as an.
But it's a prop, right?
But I know that when I started doing it and I was just drinking, it was before I'd have a glass before. Sometimes when you're at these comedy clubs, people are drinking. And I know when I wasn't like really, I was trying it out or at open mic, I'd have a beer because you have to buy a drink minimum, whatever they do. It never made me a stronger performer. So I always say, this is my job now. So I don't take any chances unless someone's like, you need to have a glass of wine. This is your sponsor. Then I'll hold it on stage. I only bring water or tea because especially with Divorce Diaries, I talk and some of the parts I sing for an hour and more, hour and 15 actually. So my vocal cord, it would just ruin it. But I know comedians, I mean, look at Dave Chappelle, like look at these comedians that go on stage and they're okay. It's not for me.
But there's some comedians out there that say that they're drinking like Jack Daniel's straight up and it's iced tea in the glass because it's the same color.
So do you ever watch that movie about the Rat Pack and they I think it was Ray Liotta, and they're going up through the floors, and they got like Sammy Davis Jr. with his wife, and then Frank Sinatra with whatever girl he's with, and there's Dean Martin, who on stage was the biggest drunk. He was the biggest drunk on stage, but he's in his bed alone, drinking a glass of milk.
Oh,
because it was all a prop. It was all a show.
Yeah.
You know, because you're funnier. Look at Foster Brooks, and if you don't know
Foster
Foster
Brooks.
Brooks,
Yes, yes.
Foster Brooks just acted drunk the whole time.
They
But
said Foster Brooks never drank in his life either.
But so in my role as an actor, like, or my background as an actor, I never would drink before a play or a film. So that's how I look at it. Now, that's not maybe the way for other people, but for me, I cannot. I want to wait till after the show and have a nice glass of wine because I feel more in control. And I never got into weed. I never got into it. A lot of people think I should. I'm like, it just throws me off of who I am.